to Daybreak Live on Dominion Television, Ibadan. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun.
And I'm Oluwapo Ido. This morning is going to be a fantastic morning. Thank you for joining us this Friday morning.
Exactly. Our discussion this morning focuses on President Bola Tinubu's directive to state governors to stop constructing unnecessary flyovers and instead prioritize projects that directly improve the lives of Nigerians.
Right. The president's position has sparked public debate on infrastructure priorities, with many asking whether government should focus more on roads, healthcare, education, and other essential services.
Of course, should state government rethink their spending priorities? And how can available resources be used to deliver the greatest benefit to the people? That is our Daybreak gist this morning.
And in a short while, we'll also bring you today's newspaper headlines, examining the major stories making the rounds across politics, governance, business, security, and the economy. Joining us for that segment is Afolabi, who will provide analysis of the day's top headlines.
And before we leave you this morning, we recap the major stories and conversations shaping public discourse.
This morning, we examine governance, infrastructure, and the need for prudent use of public resources.
Welcome to Daybreak Live this morning.
Good morning to you, Nigerians, and good morning to you, Yemi.
Yes, good morning, Jan.
Yeah.
So, just like I said, we are discussing this particular headline this morning. The president is telling the governors, stop building unnecessary flyovers. And then, according to the story, a delegate of traditional rulers led by Oba Rashidi Adewoladaja met with the president just to congratulate him on the successful rescue of the abducted Owerri students and teachers. And then the president was telling them that, governors should really stop building flyovers, especially for areas, or let me say for states who are not experiencing traffic or hold up, intense traffic. Because I remember many years ago in Ibadan, you see that roundabout flyover, before that flyover, the traffic there was intense. As a matter of fact, people would stay there for 30 minutes, 1 hour sometimes, especially, in the evening when a lot of persons, are going on. But then after that flyover, it became easy. The traffic was no longer intense. So, but the president is saying, for areas that are not, experiencing intense traffic and hold up, let's focus on building roads that can help, the lives of people, that can help the security personnel to carry out their activities, and things like that. And I think it's a very valid discussion coming from the president, because I remember that 10 years ago, the governors were not collecting what they are collecting now in terms of allocation every single month. And I think the president also mentioned it. He said he was talking to Oba Rashidi, the former governor of Oyo State, that when both of us were governors, if we had this kind of allocation, I think we would have done more for the people. And I think it's valid, because these people are collecting, for some state, 400% increase in what they are collecting, 500, 300% increase, and it's a lot of money. And then they still have their IGL, their internally generated revenue. So I think it's something that the governors should look at. And I think even before now, I think about last year, the president also said something. He was telling the people, he said, hold your governors accountable. It's a very valid conversation, because these people are collecting more and they should be able to do more for the people. Not like the flyover is not okay. I mean, it's good for aesthetics, but then when in economics we call something scale of preference. Certain things should come first. For instance, if you want to choose between paying your rent and buying a car, you don't need an angel to tell you. Common sense will come to play, and tell you, okay, you need to pay your rent first before thinking of buying a car. So the roads are more important to Nigerians, to the people, than flyovers, especially for areas that are not even experiencing intense traffic. And I think that's a good conversation this morning.
Absolutely, you're right. I was fascinated by this, and then it took me into a bit of study to understand what exactly is the case. Now, first, let me say that what the president said is economically sound. And I know if there's anybody who should have data as to what's happening in this country, I think it's the president, because he works with different bodies who are in the thick of things as to the statistics of every government across the 36 states in the country. So I think the president did not just say this because he wanted to hit at these people. He said it because there's a data that would back that fact. He's saying it because this is actually, and we've seen a lot of times too. But then I think it's not that the governors don't know what to do. What I was asking myself the question, so are we bankrupt of ideas as to nation building? Are we bankrupt of ideas as to innovation, and I discovered not exactly. What we are more concerned about is politics, and I always say this, that politics is most times a distraction to governance in Nigeria, and this is what I mean. When they do this project, tell me one project that a government will do that would require maybe a federal person or maybe the president himself to come and commission, if not all this kind of projects, especially the flyovers. Oftentimes we've seen it's like a trajectory. Everybody in every state that makes a bridge that is long or something that is that big in terms of infrastructure, they will sometimes have to speak to the president about it, so the president will come to commission, or someone else who is saying that's Kedar, maybe the minister of works, for example, will now come and say, so that makes a lot of noise, and that is what they target. That's a political arrangement. Is called political prestige projects. That's what they call this kind of project. They want the prestige. It's not about whether the people want it. It's about how can I do this that the president will know? How can I do this that the minister of works will know? How can I do that the whole of Nigeria will hear that we've done something like this in the country? And so we see states competing as to who has a longer bridge. I've seen this conversation sometimes across social media. And people are trying to debate as to who has the best of infrastructures, and I'm saying no, it's not that our governors are bankrupt of ideas in that sense. It's just that they feel like doing the politically inclined prestige projects is better off building what will help the country or help their state in that sense. So the president makes mention that some of them are receiving 3-4 times more than they've received before, and that is valid. So what does that speak to? It speaks to the fact that if you ask me as a policymaker now, I came up with something, and this is also going to be backed up by some evidence that I've also seen. Just recently, the Punch newspaper brought out a report, and I think it's of interest to me and maybe to every other person that is listening and watching us this morning. And that particular story, it's on the Punch newspaper. It was published right on the Punch newspaper. And then it says that the Organization for Technology Advancement of Cold Chain in West Africa, that's OTACWA, disclosed that Nigeria recorded between 3.5 trillion naira and 5 trillion naira in post-harvest losses just in 2025. This data got me aback, and I was really surprised that we have this particular report going out and nobody's talking about it. Just in 2025, 3.5 trillion naira and 5 trillion naira was lost in post-harvest systems. And then let me take it a step further. I think the president of that particular association is Alexander Isong. He said that the country lost an estimated 30 to 40 million metric tons of food across major value chains. So what is the problem? We were taught in agriculture way back when we were in school that one of the problems militating against the success of agricultural development or the food production success that we're driving at in the country is one, poor road network. They told us two, poor storage facilities. And these are things like major things that we can understand as and a layman would understand. What we need is we need feeder roads from the points where they are being made. I'm talking about the farms, from the farms now to the places they are going to be used or to the place they are going to be stored. And those are the problems. That's what we need. Many years back, many states, or almost all the states in Nigeria, are known for something. They have what they call economical advantage, right? For example, there are many things that were constructed in this or your state that were gotten from cocoa money, and we can mention quite a few or quite a number of them, a handful of course, that we've seen in the country that were gotten by that. And that means that there was a time when Nigeria was also hell bent on the crude. The crude was not the major mainstay. The crude was not even a conversation. What was the conversation is, what can states do to produce? In fact, then, imagine that 5 trillion that we are losing in annual losses to post-harvest crisis in the country. Imagine that going into the GDP. How much of that will... Because we're now borrowing everywhere. How about we generate internally? And then that's a lot of generation. 5 trillion naira added to the Federal Allocation Committee. I mean, that's going to help a lot, right? So if you're not looking at what state can deliver, I think we are still joking, right? Governors should look inward. Look at what you can do. And I have quite a few research, but for want of time, I cannot really reel over them. But I will just say a few ones that I know. For example, if you say that maybe some states don't have advantage as much as some, I tell you for a fact that I beg to differ. Almost every state in this country has something they can produce, has something they can yield in terms of economy, and then to help the country move forward. But I think at the later end, one of the problems we have is that governors are not looking at these things. They are not looking inward. They are more concerned about the things they will get, and they are more concerned about their political position, their political continuity. I want to still remain governor. I want people to see or think I'm working. But they don't really think about the felt needs of their people. What are these people needing? what is the felt need, not just perceived need. If you perceive that we need a flyover and then you bridge it, you have a bridge, it does not, I mean, how does that put food on an average person's table? Not exactly. But if you have feeder roads from the local settings, maybe like the rural settings to the urban settings, to, you know, from farms to storage centers and then to the people, I think it's a better development than roads. So let me just, when we had regions, like when we're Western region, Northern region, the Northern region, for example, was famous for groundnut pyramids in Kano. Where's groundnut pyramid now? You know, it symbolizes an export economy built on groundnuts, cotton, height, and livestock. That was a major mainstay of the northern region. The south, the western region, for example, cocoa financed landmark projects across Africa. You know, eastern region had palm oil and palm kernel production in massive production capacity in the country. Jos Plateau, for example, was notable for having one of the most notable mining centers, right, in the mid 20th century. Enugu, Nigeria's coal capital, that's what they call it. Benue State, for example, the food basket of the nation. Abba State, that's Abia, I guess. A thriving manufacturing hub known for leather goods. Okay, that's Abba market, the popular Abba market that we all know. So the case is almost every state can generate so much, but the states governors are not looking at this, and I think it's one thing we should now focus on, instead of just, I know, yes, we need flyovers, we need project infrastructures, yes, but much more so, what do we need first? I think it's like you said, the scale of preference. What comes first? I think that's one of the things that should top our priority list.
Yeah, good argument. And then even beyond that, I want to add something to it, because I think the president did not even mention it. You know, constructing roads, flyovers, I think is like the responsibility of governors in a state. And I remember a few months back, I don't know whether you've heard about the flyover that was actually constructed in Edo State, the very first one. I think the Ramat Park flyover. And then some students visited that place, you know, for excursion purpose, and Nigerians were not having it because they're asking questions. How come they didn't visit any museum or universities or factories? How come they went there for an excursion? But then maybe the school decided to say, okay, this is the very first one in Edo State, so let's visit. So this is my argument. Even beyond the construction of roads and flyovers, we should also look at other sectors. I mean, the lives of people should improve because of the kind of allocation that the governors are receiving this time. I'm talking about health. I saw in the newspaper this morning that resident doctors might actually go on strike, you know, come August because of certain demands. I mean, these are the things we should begin to look at. Health. Let's look at health. I also read a report that said that in Ogun State, we have about 1,200 doctors, you know, that are handling about 9 million residents in Ogun State. It's a disaster. Let's not lie to ourselves. Because, I mean, if that is happening in Ogun State, what about other states? So there are other things to look at. There are other places where we can pump this money. Health, education, you know, talk about all the things, not just construction of roads. Because it appears that in the last few months, some governors are always very excited to invite the president to say, oh, we have built this road, come and you know, commission it and this and that. Is excellent. It will help us. It will help the business people, because I mean, it will make their let me say, it will make their going and coming very easy. You know, I don't know. There's a word I'm looking for now, but I cannot remember. But it will make their going and coming very easy. You know. But then beyond the roads, let's also look at other areas that can help the people, that can make the lives of people better. Let's talk about health. Let's talk about, you know, education. Let's talk about, you know, building factories. Let's talk about all these things. There are some universities in this nation, in some states, you know, they are not performing the way they should perform. I'm talking about, you know, the lecturers. I'm talking about the facilities in the school. Look at what private people are doing. People who own private universities. Look at what they are doing. These people don't experience the kind of issues that we experience in federal universities. In some federal universities today, some students cannot stay in the school still. Why? Because the situation is very poor, it's very bad. They rather go and rent a place outside the school, even though it will not help, you know, it will not help them in a way, but they don't have a choice. So I think the roads are good, you know. The flyover too is okay if traffic is intense, according to the president. But then we should also look at all other areas so that we can better the lives of the people, because you have the money. And they talk about IGR as well. Yes, some states might not be generating, you know, the kind of money some other states are generating, but then you have enough allocation. The president said, hold your governors accountable, because most Nigerians are always very concerned about the president, the federal. They're not talking about the state governors. They're not talking about the local government chairman. If you don't hold these people accountable, it's not just about the president. These people also have a role to play. But then it's a good one coming from the president, and I think it's a
sorry. Let me like very briefly. Let me just double down on one of the points I made. Maybe I will speak to the president to say, sir, can you also, is there any way we can find a way that whenever you run a massive project, a capital project in the state, the president doesn't have to come? Maybe someone can represent I'm not even the Minister of Works. We don't want it to be. I think that's one of the things these people are looking at. And it's also a political thing. That's, you see, whenever they are constructing roads and they have constructed bridges and all of that, and they want to commission, and the president is there, they turn it into a political arena. They turn it into, for example, APC something or PDP something. Everybody, they now fly their colors and all of that and say, yes, APC is doing, it's not APC. You are in power. You should do, these are the least of the things we expect from a government. We should not be celebrating that the government is building a bridge. The money is not your personal money. It's the money of the state governments, right? You should use it for the people. So it should not be a thing that. So I'm saying if the president can also make maybe a few, just a twitch there, here and there, to say, whenever you have a capital project, we don't have to be there. We don't have to come and praise you and say, do what you are supposed to do, and let's have it running. Nigeria can be better if we look inward. We have so many potentials, but it's just lying at the state of potentiality. It has not gone to the place of kinetic energy. We've not really put work to these things to make it work. It's not in motion. It's just in a state of rest, and we need to move from the state of rest if we want to move forward.
Exactly. Just like I mentioned, I mean, building roads is like the major responsibility of any state governor or state government. So it's not a big deal, really. People are expecting more from the governors. It's a fine place to leave that discussion. This morning, we take a short break, and when we come back, we move on to newspaper headlines and analysis. We'll be right back.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live? Like never before. Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram @Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options.
Thank you for staying with us this morning. It's time for newspaper headlines and analysis. And then the politics eating up. Osun State is preparing for the governorship election. INEC is feeling the pressure because Nigerians do not want to hear inconclusive, glitches, BVAS not working. It's a lot to talk about this morning. But I'm not alone on set. I'm with Afolabi, a public affairs analyst. Welcome on board.
Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Yemi.
Good morning to you.
Good to be again.
All right, let's start with Vanguard newspaper this morning. I have the banner headline that says a federal government labor clash over use of fuel subsidy removal savings. With the riders, savings used to service increased workers' salaries orders. That's coming from Oyedele. You are economical with the truth. Labour tells federal government dares finance minister to produce evidence on salary claim. We've been talking about the subsidy removal for years now. I think about 3 years now.
3 years?
Yeah. About yes, because I remember that when the president came into power, he said subsidy is gone. And then that had effect on every single thing, in the nation. So about 3 years now, and Nigerians are asking, this money that we have been able to save from subsidy removal, what are we doing with it? And according to the finance minister, he said, the savings is used to service increased workers' salaries and orders. Is that a valid conversation, a valid statement coming from the finance minister?
It's not valid enough. Government would mean business. You see, it's a pity that we find ourselves here before the program runs up. I was talking about Nigeria is far away from getting there. And then it's just like a 1 feet forward, 10 feet or 5 feet backward. I want to talk about subsidy removal. The promises then that was given, the reason behind the subsidy removal was for us to have a good, a stable economy, a better welfare for the workers, smiling faces for the citizens, and a good health facilities that everybody can be proud of. But 3 years down the line, like you said, we are yet to see all this, and our laborers, our civil servants are still clamoring for more. And we still understand that in some places they are yet to be adequately paid. And when you talk about the claim by the Minister for Finance, to me is not substantial, it's sustainable enough. It's not what we can rely on. When you talk about others, what are the others? Where are those others? Let us have the facts. Let Nigeria know where our money is going to. Let's know if it is to build infrastructures. Let us know if it is at the point of recruiting more workers, into the civil service or in the Nigerian army. Let us know if it is in buying equipment for our security outfit, because we understand that our security is lacking because we don't have enough equipment. We don't have enough armory. We don't have enough thing to defend ourselves. So if these are where the subsidy removals earnings are going into, then Nigeria can fall back and say yes, we are seeing it. But we are yet to see all this. We are yet to see it even in the area of our education. We are yet to see it even in the most important areas of our health facilities, where everybody now depend on a particular general hospital for their survival. And we go to local areas, there are no health facilities.
But according to the finance minister, they've been able to pump that money into paying salaries or maybe increasing the allocation of governors. Then in the last 3 years, I don't think people are complaining about salaries, right?
But it's not enough. Right now, Nigerians are paying higher for petroleum pump price. The price at that this money is 1,550. Some places 1,300 and 250. 1,300 in some places is still very high. And if Nigerians are not complaining, they are not complaining because they felt that the subsidy removal is having an effect somewhere, and that effect is what everybody is waiting for. But we can only see this effect in the faces of our politicians, in the faces of our electioneering campaigns. We can only see this effect in the area of people clamoring to go to the House of Assembly, House of Senate, House of Rep with a do or die affairs.
The president said that the benefits of removing the subsidy might not come now, but it will definitely come. So,
well, we want it to come now because it's 3 years down the line. We want it to come now because Nigerians are really suffering. If you are that person that walk on the road, on the streets, and you look at people's faces, you know that something is happening. The people are not smiling, and that is why we may not get it right when it comes to the point of election, to the point of voting, where vote buying will be the order of the day, because people are hungry and they just depend on whatever they can get now, and that is what they believe it is their own share of the game, and they go back to bed. And that is why people are yet to really decide. This thing has not given us the deciding factors, how to decide who we are really going to vote for, because everybody is hungry, and an hungry man is an angry man. And at that point, it's not that they are hungry to make a change, but they are hungry because they just want something in their pocket, on their table, to feed their family.
Okay. I think it's a fine place to leave that discussion. Speaking about subsidy removal, let's take a look at another headline. And this one is coming from the president himself. Oriri, why we refuse to negotiate with terrorists, that's coming from Tinubu. Markande's set or probe panel. I think Markande is not giving up anytime soon on that, probe, because of this whole, I think Ayofaya Sheikh, former governor of Ekiti State, said exactly, about it and things like that, and then people are saying, okay, if you want an external body to come and probe this matter, that's okay. But now let's talk about we are not going to negotiate with the terrorists, we are not going to pay ransom. I remember a few days back, Kwakwanso, that's the person contested alongside Peter Obi, in NDC. He said, we are going to negotiate with everybody, including terrorists. So, I don't know, can you help me make sense of that? Coming from somebody who wants to become VP, the vice president of this country, and the president saying,
it's a very dangerous statement. It's a very dangerous statement that was made by Kwankwaso, and at the time it was, I don't understand, I don't know if he's referring also to the terrorists, but if that is the case, then Nigeria is going to be occupied with terrorists. Because if they know that they're going to negotiate with them, many people will float their own terrorist group, and everybody wants to be negotiated with, and everybody wants the ransom. And if that is the case, then we are not safe. But I felt that when the president is talking about we're not going to negotiate with the terrorists, I want us to look back to how far we've been coping with terrorism in Nigeria. Have we been negotiating? Has there been any point that we have negotiated for the release of the captive, with terrorists? Is there anyone? Yes, there are. There was one that we got the release. You see, wherever we got release of these people from terrorists, and those terrorists were not captured, then there has been a negotiation.
So you think the government, this same government, has been negotiating with these people?
Sure. If there is a point at which you were able to free the captive, and the terrorists were not arrested, then there has been of negotiation in between.
What about paying of ransom? You think that is part of it too?
That is part of it.
But the president is saying no, we've not been doing that.
Somebody was talking on the popular TV channels some time ago, and he was pointing to himself as being the person who actually was talking on behalf of the government to negotiate. And I felt that person should have been arrested or should have been questioned further to tell us what is really going on and how far they have gone. Because let me tell you, I have led a student group before. At that point, we understand that was one of the peak period of courtesy, and the school suddenly came up with a policy of renunciation and said whoever that renounced will get some things and they will settle them. Suddenly, we started seeing many people coming forward to say they are renouncing. Even from friends that you never thought they are courtists, or some who were just about declaring themselves as courtesans, will just come out and say they are renouncing, because they understand that there is something after you are renouncing, you renounce your courtesan, something is on the table for you. So if the president or the vice president to be could come up and tell you that we are going to negotiate even with terrorists, then we should expect more terrorism group to float up, and that is a dangerous. The danger of it if that person becomes a vice president. Then we should be watchful. In short, we should look out for every local terrorism group around instead of we having vigilante groups. So these are the things that we want us to be mindful of. And in the area of the president, you have to come up boldly to tell us those areas that you are claiming right now that you are not going to negotiate. That is what we expect. That if we have equipped our army very well, then there is no point for negotiation. We've lost our gallant soldiers. We've lost our very formidable armies. The ones that we lost of recent, the former army soldier that was claimed that he was bitten by snake, captured with his wife, and the man was the corpse was released. After which the wife was released. That particular scenario tells us that something has gone on, and those guys were not arrested. So you want to tell me that there was no negotiation between that point? You don't know the story I'm talking about. But the truth of the matter is that there has been negotiation by this government with terrorists. I made blood, and if we want to go down to records, who get facts. But the fact remains that there shouldn't be any point at which government should negotiate, and that is where it will kill the strength of these terrorist groups. And none of them will want to think of floating again. That will tell them that they are not recognized. There is no room for them to make any demand. There is nobody going to pay them any ransom, and any group associated with them will be captured and be dealt with. If that is done, if we have that on the table, then we will have lesser crimes around, especially in the area of kidnapping and terrorism.
Okay, I think it's a good one because I mean, looking at what happened during that Turiri abduction, it took a toll on Nigerians, not just the people of your state.
Yes.
So the president and I think this administration should really do better in terms of insecurity. Let's cross the pond. Let's talk about Osun State. I don't know. Some persons think Osun is burning as we speak. I think I read a tweet and then the person said Osun is now a state of war. I don't know if you agree with that statement, but this headline is saying Osun 2026. Adeleke Oyebamiji signed peace pact as INEC warns troublemakers. But it's beyond that. The SSG was arrested, recently, and the arrest of Osun State Secretary to the state government, that's Teslim Igbala, he's been released, according to the report I read this morning, has triggered fresh political debate ahead of the governorship election. And then the police say they recovered cash, about 4.8 million naira. When they actually conducted that raid, voter registers, and please note that PVCs and other items during the raid on his residence and are investigating possible electoral offences. The Osun State government, however, insists the operation was unlawful. That's Osun State governor. He even said, this thing these people are doing, is not the right thing to do, setting the state for a clash of competing narratives. Now, the SSG to the state governor, 4.8 million cash, PVCs, and I think that they are preparing for the election, Osun State election, come August 15. Registers, what do you make of this? It's a lot to talk about, especially when Osun is preparing for election.
Our politicians are setting a stage that should not be copied for future reference, for future use anyway. Because the state at which we find ourselves right now is a do or die election. Because if you hear the statement of the APC chairman declaring Osun State as a win already when the election has not been commenced. But I want to tell you that the arrest of the SSG is an indictment on the sitting government, and it also shows that. It may blow up many other crises. It's a party and the sitting government and the police or the DSS is seen as being in another party. Sure, you understand?
Okay.
But I want to tell you that having cash or assumed to be distributed on the election date. Have you also checked on other parties? Have you checked on APC? Do you know what they have with them? Do you know how many cards they have with them? Do you know how many numbers? Do you know how much cash they have with them? Have you checked on ADC? Have you checked on even YPP and other?
So you think this is intimidation? Because from Vanguard newspaper, a particular leader is saying Austrian election, we won't bow to intimidation. That's coming from Nigeria.
It is pure intimidation. You see, we expect that the security forces or security agencies will not be biased in these cases. They should just stand aloof and stand as being balanced. Where anybody wants to cross the line, then they come out and arrest. How do you get such information? Who throw the information out to you? If you come to a person like SSG and you are saying to us that you found 4.8 billion or 4.8 million in his coffer.
I think according to report, what I read this morning, they got an information that a particular gang was staying there. So I don't have more information about the gang, but that was what was reported.
What I'm insinuating is that it's not fair enough to be on a particular side and leave the other side. No, the election is just a few days away. What I expect from the security agencies is to stand as a balance. Like when we write news stories, as journalists, we don't tend to write in favor of anybody. We try to balance the equation. That is where I expect the security agencies to be, at which they will not be seen as being in a particular side and leaving the other. Because somebody like SSG should have money with him. Because in politics, they tell you to go and deliver your word. To go and deliver your word using any motive. Either you go there and campaign, either you go there and feed the people, either you go there and transport them to their units. A polling unit is not always closer to your house. You may even need to trek from one particular place to another. And on that election day, there is no movement, there is no room for movement.
So 4.8 million naira for transportation?
My brother, I'm not saying that, I'm not justifying the money with him, but I'm only saying that it's not enough to go after that particular person alone. Check other parties. Check other parties because the election is getting closer. There was a time they make a work. You see, the do or die affairs that we have introduced in our politics is making it becoming too hot for anybody to come in. And it's the danger ahead, it's the danger affecting our democracy. And people are already complaining. Election is about to start in the state, and people are trying to leave the state because they don't know what will happen. It is not in a time of operation what do you call it in those days that the
Operation Wet.
Operation Wet, and God forbid we see that. It's not Operation Wet, but this one that we are having is more than Operation Wet here. We are people who will be scared of staying in a particular place. You know, we should be free to decide who we want in power. If not that everybody is after his own selfish interest. If you are so much concerned about the interests of our people and our country, Nigeria, then we should come out and contest without rancor, without enmity. Because after this election, we will see ourselves again on the streets. So how come you are after one person and leaving the other? That is my own case. I'm not saying that the SSG is so innocent about the allegation, but I'm saying that it is unfair to a particular party leaving the other. We know what others are also preparing.
Okay, never say never. Anything can happen before the election.
Yes.
But then one thing that I want to say to the security operatives in that state is to deploy many persons to that area even before the election. Let's not wait for election day.
That will not be biased.
Because of what is going on in that state. It's intense now as we
Serious.
speak. But let's take a look at another headline. Let's cross to New Telegraph, and then the banner headline is saying resident doctors issue August 10 strike notice over unpaid arrears, welfare concerns, and then condemn harassment and violent attacks on healthcare workers, demand immediate resolution of lingering crisis at Lut. Only 1,200 medical doctors serving 9 million Ogun residents. That's coming from enemy. I mean, that's a disaster.
Serious one.
Not just Ogun State now, across the country.
The
and we've been talking about doctors have been threatening to go on strike for years. Not even now, not even about this administration alone.
Sure.
So at what point are we going to solve this problem?
These are part of why we thought our subsidy removal will be effective. Where the subsidy removal will give confidence to our doctors and nurses to make sure that our hospitals are safe and our clinic are somewhere you can take your wife to, and you'll be assured that there is going to be a safe delivery. But right now, many people who are studying nurses and doctors here, their next thinking is to japa. And if that continues because of the poor welfare packages that we are having, I don't understand why resident doctors who put their work online, who will want to be at their place of work at every call they get, will be denied of their allowances, their pay, and so many other things. These are the critical sectors that should not be taken for granted.
Well, let me quickly talk about something. I remember when this administration was campaigning, the president said 4 years will be 4 years.
Yes.
No more ASU strike. And then if you actually take a look at what's going on in the federal universities, 4 years is 4 years.
Yes.
No ASU strike in the last 3 years. Kudos to the government. So if they can do it for the education sector,
they should put the health sector in proper place too.
Do you think the negotiation has been failing? I mean, between the government, the representatives of the government, and this.
I don't want us to take one sector more important than the other. All the sectors are important. Our health sector is very important. Our educational sector is very important, and all other sectors, even the roads, even Ministry of Roads. Can you see our road the way it is from here to Abeokuta?
And the president mentioned yesterday
is the worst.
That governors should focus more on constructing roads.
That is it. See, I don't understand why the present governor of the state has not been impeached. I think it is because of the fact that he's a party and all the members of the House of Assembly were unpicked by him or some particular people, and they felt that he cannot go anywhere. I wonder why such a person will still want to contest for senator. And he's now the card member, the candidate for the party. If we are in a sane country, such people should be facing some, probe by now. Because I wonder why the health sector will be facing this kind of problem. And it's danger to, if you know how the state is structured, you understand that one of the key things aside education in that state is health. Because the place is the distance at which you move from your place to any health center is too much, And I wonder why we are feeling ignorance of this.
Okay, if the governor is failing in that particular area, what about the area of investment in the factories? Because a lot of persons, his loyalists will always commend him, in that area.
It's closer to Lagos. So when Lagos overflow, it comes to Ogun State. And they are enjoying the very close border within each other. So, and relatively peaceful to invest. And that is why the investment there is going on. And they still have vast land that's yet to be tapped, yet untapped. So but you see, the area of health is very, very germane, very important. That I don't know why this thing is not just coming up now. There was a time in his first term too. In his first term in government, the medical people come up with non unpaid allowances, threatening to go on strike, and hoping that the government they set up a committee to look into it. I think they did something to bring it down, and the result was people leaving the health sector, leaving the country, going outside the country, and they are producing nurses and producing doctors every year and there. And look at the numbers that is taking care of the entire 25 local governments.
9 million residents, 1,200 doctors.
Imagine. So to what ratio is one doctor? To what ratio? In case of, and many of them, the big guys there know where to get their health fixed. They either go to Lagos or go abroad. And then leave the local people to their fate. And that fate is what is every Friday you see people coming for burial.
It's really sad. It's really sad. We hope for better days, not just in Ogun State,
in other states too, across the
nation, across the nation. A big thanks to you, Afolabi, Public Affairs Analyst, for joining us this morning. We've been able to establish that beyond the roads, health is important,
very, very
education is important. The roads are also important. I mean, the people must be safe. They must be happy, to apply those roads. It's a fine place to leave this discussion this morning. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for being a part of this segment as well. We take a short break, and when we come back, we conclude the program. We'll be right back.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live? Like never before. Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram @Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
Having conversations that are necessary for nation building, for national development, and of course we need Nigeria to grow. But that was a fantastic conversation, Yemi.
Exactly. So we are going to keep talking about all these things, health, education, infrastructure, because we need these things to make sure that the lives of Nigerians, is much more better than 5 years ago. So it's a fun place to leave the discussion. We are just hoping that this Osun State election that is coming up, INEC will get it right, more than the last election that we had in Nigeria in a particular state, basically.
And of course, parties should also do their bit. Because we can't just leave it at the table of finding, hey, people, it's your responsibility. Parties too, stop recruiting thugs. Those guys are not thugs, they are citizens of this country. They are from dividends of democracy. So don't employ them by giving them 5,000, 10,000 to go and be doing all sorts of.
And I hope that INEC has been able to solve the whole BVAS not working. I watched the video for the last governorship election that happened. Some persons could not vote for hours because the BVAS, was malfunctioning. So it's a problem. I want to believe they'll be able to put it in place even now that you're preparing for another election. It's a fine place to live in. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Oluwayemi Adelak. And don't forget that your vote is your power. Bye for now.
And I'm Anolu Apoy, saying bye for now.